If you're in search of some better performance for your 2021 or newer 2.7 liter Bronco, this AFV Momentum GT cold air intake with the Pro Dry S filter in black will be a great mod to check out. Now, this is going to be a great supporting mod or overall addition to your build if you're looking for increased airflow, better gains, and better efficiency out of your motor. Now, this is going to give you that performance, but it's also going to be great for easy maintenance for long-lasting performance if you're tired of replacing your factory filter and want a system that you can clean and reuse. This is going to be right up your alley if you're looking for that. Now, I would also recommend this to the Bronco owner who wants a little bit more protection to their filter inside the engine bay with this airbox style option compared to other heat shield options, especially if you're taking your truck off-road in wetter climates. Now, I'd also like to mention that this is not going to be CARB certified, so do keep that in mind while you're shopping around for an intake. Now, this system is going to get rid of a lot of that factory restriction. Start of the show here is the Pro Dry S filter, which is not only going to help out with additional airflow, but it's also going to be reusable like I mentioned before, so you don't have to worry about replacing it every couple thousand miles or so like the factory one. The housing is also going to have a clear sight window on the top, so you can keep an eye on your filter for maintenance without having to disassemble the entire thing, which is nice. Now, the system will also noticeably increase that turbo noise as well for a sporty feel to your Bronco, while offering a better look underneath the hood with quality and well-fitting components. Now, getting into the construction and the breakdown of this kit, starting off with the filter here, this is going to be AFE's 3-layer synthetic media filter, which will offer good efficiency and a high dust hold capacity. This will also include a one-piece housing here made of a heat-resistant cross-linked polyethylene material, so you can ensure that it's going to remain heat-soak resistant and incredibly durable underneath the hood. Now, same construction goes for the CAD design intake tubing, and another call out about this is that it's going to be completely unobstructed, which will streamline that airflow. Not to mention, this is going to come with stainless steel clamps and high quality silicone couplers, as well as all the other hardware that you need in order to install this for a reliable and straightforward install. Now, this will be more of a premium choice at roughly $600 when it comes to the price. What I will say is that you're getting excellent quality and durable materials that you can really count on while getting some pretty solid gains out of an intake system. Not to mention the very clean look underneath the hood with that clear sight window there is really going to add a sporty look compared to some other more simplistic choices. I think if you have the cash to spend on a high quality dry filter system and want to get the most out of your intake, then this one is going to be a great choice. So install is going to be a 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, taking you about 45 minutes to get the job done with some pretty basic hand tools. Now, at this point, we can head over to the shop and check out a detailed breakdown, step by step, of how to get this onto your Bronco at home. So that's going to wrap it up for me. Let's go ahead and get into it.
Tools required for this install include a remote hose clamp pliers, a ratchet, a clip remover tool, 15mm wrench, a pry bar, a couple different size extensions, 7 and 8mm sockets, and a 10mm swivel socket. What's up, guys? Today we're installing an intake on our Bronco, so let's get started. Now, the first thing we're going to do is remove this push clip that's right above our passenger side headlight. So I've got a clip remover tool. You can get in there and pop that clip out. Next, we can disconnect our IAT sensor as well as pop off these 3 push clips. So we'll start with our clip remover tool. Next, on the back side of our intake box, we have a bolt going into the fender that we can take a 10mm socket to remove. Next, we can come over to our spool valve. We're going to pull back on the white part of our connector, and then we can push it in to disconnect it. And then we'll take a clip remover tool to pop off these 2 clips. And then we can get that out of the way. And while we're here, we'll take a 7mm socket to loosen up this clamp. Then Then we can wiggle this hose off our intake box and tuck that down and out of the way for now. Next, we can go to the other side of our hose and disconnect this clamp, same 7mm socket. And then we can wiggle that hose off our intake box and get that out of the way. So now with everything removed from our intake box, we can pull up to release it from the grommets and pull it out of the way. Next, we're gonna have to pinch the clamp on the end of our turbo to pull off this hose. Now I've got a tool here. We've got 2 teeth that are gonna grab onto that clamp. And then we've got pliers here that will squeeze together to release our clamp, and then we'll just wiggle our tube off. So we'll feed this down in there and attach that to our clamp. And then we can start wiggling on this. Next, we can come down to the tube going into our turbo. We're gonna grab a clip remover tool to pop this line off of there first. And then once we have that out of the way, there's a bolt that goes into the block over here. It's a 10mm bolt. It's gonna be impossible to see. I've got a 10mm swivel socket on an extension to get down in there. And now once we have those disconnected and our tube is free, we can come down to our clamp here. Now our clamp's at a downward angle, so it's a little bit hard to get any tools in there. So I've got this hose clamp tool. We're gonna get these 2 teeth onto our clamp, and then we have pliers on the other end where we can squeeze this together to tighten it down. So we'll get that lined up, and then we'll give it a squeeze. And then we can start wiggling this to get it out of place. Now I'm gonna use a little bit of gentle persuasion with a pry bar here to get this started to move. Next, we can work on getting our next tube out. The first thing we're gonna do is pinch on the 2 sides of this connection to pop that off. And then we can start removing all of these 8mm bolts. We'll grab an 8mm socket, pop these out. And then there's another one right behind this pipe. Next, we can come over towards our battery. We have 1 more 8mm bolt, as well as the 7mm on this clamp to loosen up our pipe. So we'll grab our 8mm socket for our bolt. And then we'll switch to our 7mm to loosen up the clamp. And then we can slide our pipe out of that little coupler. Now we can loosen up this Y pipe to be able to slide our pipe out. So we'll grab a 7mm socket to loosen up this clamp. And then down at the bottom, we can pull back on this clamp to free that up. Slide that out of our coupler first, then we can pop that off and slide our pipe out of the way. So now last things we have to do is remove our intake funnel as well as our IAT sensor. So for the intake funnel, we'll just slide that right off. And for our IAT sensor, I'm gonna take a 15mm wrench. We'll twist this to the left to get it unlocked, and then we can wiggle it out of place. And then we'll just wiggle that out. So now we're ready to assemble our new intake box. So the first thing we're gonna do is slide our filter into our intake box, and then we can get our tube clamped to the back side of it. So now we're gonna take our filter and we're gonna slide this onto our tube first. And then we can grab our 8mm socket, get our clamp in place and tighten it down. And then we have these little tabs all around our filter. That's what's gonna click into the backside of our housing here to hold it in place. Next, we can take our IAT sensor and slide it into the hole and twist to the right to lock that into place. Next, we can grab our smaller coupler with our 2 small clamps, and we're gonna slide it on to our smaller intake tube. Next, we're going to be installing the piece that we're going to be threading our bolt into. This is going right where we removed the bolt for our intake box into the fender. So we'll just thread that in and get that hand tight. Next, we can grab our intake box assembly and slide this into place. Now we're going to be going under this hose with our tube that's connecting to our turbo. So we'll get that in first, slide that onto our turbo. And then we can line up our 2 rods with our grommets at the bottom and press that into place. Next, we can come back to that bolt that's going into the fender. We have a new one in this kit. So we'll just line up this tab with the hole and thread that in. And then we'll grab our 10mm socket and tighten it down. Next, we can reinstall our push clip at the front. And then we can grab our harness. We're gonna plug in our IAT sensor first. And then our connector right behind it next. Press that white tab in to lock it. And then we'll slide these 2 clips over our studs. Next, we can go back to our turbo and tighten down our 2 8mm clamps. So I've got an 8mm socket to do that. Now next, we can install this pipe that's running over to the other side. We have our last coupler on here. There's a smaller and a larger side, as well as a smaller and larger clamp. The smaller side and clamp are going on the tube side, and the larger side and clamp are going towards the intake box. So I've got that slid on, and now we can lift up on this pipe. We'll get this underneath, slide our end into our coupler over there, and then get our coupler slid on this side. And then once we have that in place, we can get our top tube back into place as well. Slide that in, click it into place on the bottom, and then we can begin reinstalling our factory bolts. And then one more thing, we have this line here that we'll just firmly press into place. And now we can tighten down our first bolt. And our 2 clamps. Now we have that one more bolt kind of right in front of the throttle body that we can thread into place. We'll take an 8mm socket to tighten that one down. 8mm socket for this one. And then for our 2 factory clamps, we're going to switch to a 7mm socket. So that'll wrap up this review and install of the AFE Momentum GT Cold Air Intake with Pro Dry S filter in black for your 2021 and newer 2.7 liter Bronco. Thank you for watching, and for all things Bronco, keep it right here at extremeterrain.com.